In this video, I'm going to walk you through trap size and the difference in trap size for Coilspring foothold traps. So you can see here I got a variety of Coilspring foothold traps ranging in size from a small mink and muskrat size trap all the way up to something that could catch beavers, otters, or even wolves or cougars. And the whole trick with the trap size is the reason that the traps are different sizes is that's how you know which animal to target. You know, typically the larger the size trap, the larger the number of trap, the larger animal that you're intended to catch with that. Now, one thing that's not super evident with some of these older trap sizes is how big it is. So basically what you're looking at here is this is a #1 Coilspring trap. It's a pretty small trap made for catching muskrats, mink. You could catch coons with it. A step up from that is a 1.5 Coilspring trap. That's a good coon trap. You could catch muskrats and mink with it, but it's a little bit bigger trap. So coons is good. A good fox trap. If you're just looking at foxes, not likely to catch coyotes. There's going to be oddball situations, and you hear people talk about, well, I caught a coyote in a #1 that I had set for mink or something like that, and that happens. And the traps are strong, they're stout, they're able to hold a lot of times. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't, but you really want to make sure that you're matching the trap to the animal that you're pursuing for in your best interest, but also in the animal's best interest. If you've got an animal trapped in an oversized trap, then that can cause more damage. That can cause damage to the trapped animal, the foot that's trapped, and that's not what you're going for. We're wanting to go for the most effective, humane catch that we can. So we've got the #1 Coilspring, #1.5 Coilspring, and you'll see the different trap manufacturers have different takes. You'll get into some of the more square style and box style jaws, and that's just from the different manufacturers, and that really boils down to personal preference when you start trapping and what kind of traps you like. So up from the 1.5, you'll see a 1 3/4 or a 1.75, a little bit larger trap. You can still catch coons with this, but it's a great predator trap for foxes, coyotes, bobcats. That's a sweet spot. That's a real nice trap. That's what I used for when I first started trapping. I trapped with a bunch of Victor 1 3/4 modified like this. But I really like that trap. It was a good trap for that animal, a general predator trap. And then you'll move up. There's a #2 trap, and this is actually a #3 bridger. It's a good sized trap. It's a big trap, really designed for larger animals like coyotes, bobcats, and especially out west. Some states in the east, a #3 trap is too large to set on dry ground, especially in the southeast. So you want to be sure when you're choosing your traps that you're making sure of what traps are legal for you to use. But like I said, #3, if you're out west, you may want to consider that as your coyote and bobcat trap. And then up to a #5 bridger, and this is like a 7.5-inch jaw spread when it's set. This is a big trap, and it's designed to catch beavers, otters, wolves. There's guys, these things get modified, or this size trap gets modified and set for wolves and wolverines, even cougars up north. So that's a big stout trap. And one thing you may think about is, well, a wolf's way bigger than a beaver. Why would you need that big of a trap to catch a beaver? And one thing when you're looking at beavers is, if you've ever seen a beaver's front foot is small, but a beaver's hind foot, a webbed hind foot, can be as large as a man's hand. So you think about the size of a beaver's hind foot going into some of these smaller traps, that it may not be all in the trap. So that's why typically for beavers you want a large trap, and you're looking at drowning situations. So even if you do catch one of the front feet in this trap, the beaver's going to be dispatched quickly. So that's not an issue typically. So. But that's a rundown. Now this is kind of an old school type of trap numbering. So some of the new manufacturers are coming out with names that or numbers that more adequately reflect the trap size and make it easier for you, a trap trapper shopping for traps to figure out what size trap you're looking at. So one of those is a Minnesota brand, Minnesota Trapline Products. You know, they've got a line of traps all the way up from fox traps to beaver, otter, and wolf traps. And their traps are labeled by, basically it's the inside jaw spread. So they've got an MB450, which is a 4.5 inch jaw spread, MB550, which is what this is, 5.5 inch jaw spread, an MB650, and an MB750. And the 750 is your largest trap. It's comparable to the Bridger number 5. But that, you know, that's a real quick and easy, and there's more trap manufacturers. Sterling is doing some like that. KB, a trap manufacturer, is doing some of the 550 or 5.5 numbering styles. So that makes it a lot easier and a lot simpler for somebody that's just getting into trapping to figure out, well, what size trap is that? What size trap am I looking at? So when you talk about your jaw spread and the animal that you're after, you know, the Minnesota brand makes it pretty easy, because your MB450, 4.5 inch jaw spread, that's really pretty similar to your 1.5. So that would be a good predator trap if you were specifically targeting foxes. If you're in an area where you're not likely to catch coyotes, now again, those traps will catch coyotes, but it's kind of a small trap. So if you're in an area that you're really targeting coyote or foxes, that 450 is going to be great. Now I'm a big fan of the 550. I've trapped in the state where I'm from, Georgia. You can't, there's a minimum jaw size or a maximum jaw size that you could set on land. So the 550 was the biggest trap you could set on land. So that's kind of where my affinity for the MB550 came. And man, I've caught beavers, or not beavers, I've caught coyotes, bobcats, foxes. It's just really an all-around good trap. Now when you start talking about coyote trapping, you know, I know I run into a lot of guys that really like the MB650, 6.5 inch jaw spread. And it's all that boils down to personal preference. That extra inch, that's really up to you, whatever it makes, whatever you like. And then, like I say, the 750, 7.5 inch jaw spread, that's when you get into your beavers, otters, your water animals, and then wolves and wolverines and cougars, big animals like that, where you're coming through snow possibly, or breaking through a light coat of ice on the ground. So that's a rundown. Typically, you're looking at your smaller numbers or your smaller traps, your larger numbers or your larger traps. And if you start seeing 550 or 5.5, a lot of times that's going to be just the inside jaw spread, 5.5 inches, 5.5 inches. So I hope that helps in your trap selection and looking through catalogs, figuring out what you're actually looking at.